Welcome to The Dead Speaks, a podcast about murder, creepypastas, urban legends, and crime. We hope you enjoy this podcast.
It's times like these that make me wish I could just run away and never look back. I want to scream, but I can only cry eternally from all the stress my family causes me. My father and stepmother always go at each other like a couple of lions vying over a piece of meat. There is no peace, and sometimes I wish I could just crawl into a hole and never come out again. I desperately pray to God that every day would get a little better, but it never does. Nothing ever gets better. The only thing I look forward to anymore is sleep. The constant oppression and neglect from my stepmother only increases with each passing day. Sometimes I can't help but lie in bed and wonder if my family or friends would ever miss me if I went away. Would people cry or just move on? The only love I remember feeling was from my father. But lately things have taken a turn for the worst. The fighting have gone much more violent. There were days I would find him crying and praying to God for a miracle to happen. As it grew dark out, I realized I'd been sitting in my room listening to them for hours. I couldn't hear them arguing anymore. The damned grating noise of the clock above me only contributed to my frustration. That eerie silence hid my anxiety until I couldn't take it anymore. I got to the door, and before I could get to the doorknob, it swung open. It was my father, beaten, broken, and bruised. I gazed up to his tired face as I slowly walked towards him. Then and there, I decided that was enough, and I lost all rational thought as I grabbed his hand. I gathered my strength and pushed my way past my stepmother. The rage plastered on her face made me panic as I tugged my father to his car. I got him in the passenger side and scooted over to the driver's side. I frantically locked the doors as I looked for my father's car keys. I could hear my stepmother growling words as she cursed out my name, Alexa, as she yelled out in a hoarse voice. My only thought was to get my father away from here as fast as I could. I panicked as I struggled to find the keys in the little light I had. A sudden loud bang on the driver's side window sent me to a state of shock as my eyes snapped back to it. I screamed in terror as my mother slammed the baseball bat against the window again. It must have been enough to finally snap my father out of his haze. He suddenly grabbed me and shoved me to the seat. He had grabbed his keys from the glove compartment and started the car and sped off, leaving a trail of smoke and skid marks behind us. My panic only heightened as we flew down the road. I pled with him to slow down, but he only sped up more. I could feel the car start to spin off control. The sun trashings shook both of us violently before I heard a glass shattering. The seatbelt that had kept me secure broke, and suddenly the world went black. I felt so isolated. The cold, hard ground beneath me sent goosebumps along my skin. As my eyes snapped open, I was gripped with a strong, sudden pain in my chest as I sat up. My head was pounding from the hard landing. I tried to steady myself and realized that all I could hear was the hollow sound of the car alarm. There wasn't any other noise. Even the cold breeze that touched my skin was silent. I slowly brought myself to my feet as I looked around. Something was wrong. Dad, I called out, but there was no answer. I hollered out again, still no answer. I started to scream over and over again in my dismay, only to hear silence to such an extent that my throat began to hurt. I had to stop before I not only lost my father, but my voice as well. I was sworn out. I couldn't stop rubbing my eyes. The more I did, the more light around me started to fade into darkness. I felt uneasy as I opened my eyes. I was suddenly blinded by a single spotlight, and everything around me seemed to fade away. I could hear a faint jingling sound echo around me that was followed by laughter. I could feel my anxiety welling up as I called out, hoping it was my father. Hello, Dad? I waited several minutes for a reply, but none to come. I only seemed to have confirmed my worst fear. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end as the overwhelming presence seemed to appear behind me. I turned around quickly, and there, in color of blue, magenta, and teal, stood a towering jester. The jester carried a mischievous, lazy demeanor. He looked bored and quickly noticed me. He didn't say a word. The only sound was a faint jingling of his bells tied to the ends of his blue hair. I couldn't break my gaze away from him. His flamboyantly vibrant features brought out so much life, and it made him stand out that much more. The jester came closer to me with a grin that I wasn't sure if I could trust. I didn't understand where he came from or how I came to be in his dark oblivion. Without a word, he started to do tricks that would awe anyone, one of which made a purple balloon with a smiley face majestically appear in his hand. He looked at me again with a smile as he offered it to me. I didn't take it from him. I didn't know where he came from, much less what he was. I drew back slightly as my thoughts returned to my father. I had to find him. I didn't have time for this. I turned quickly to move away, but he was there in front of me again. He looked disappointed and shook his head as he offered me the balloon again. I couldn't stand the eerie silence that lingered between us. "Who are you?" I asked after gathering my courage. The jester still didn't say anything, but pulled out a deck of cards. I asked him again, and this time he pulled out a card with a letter on it. It started to dance around him, and with every following question he would pull another card. I glared at the cards and spelled out the name he presented to me. "Candy Pop?" I asked, and the only response he gave me was his wide grin. I don't know why, but each time he smirked, it sent chills down my spine. I could feel something was wrong, even if I didn't know what it was. He started to do tricks again, and this time he made the purple balloon disappear. I watched as he made a blue lollipop appear, then another, and another, until he had 3 of them. I wasn't sure what to say or do, so I just watched in silence. He took my hand and placed the lollipops in the palm and closed his hand around mine. Once again he made the same purple balloon reappear and backed away slightly. He crouched with his back to me, and all I could hear was the sound of plastic being stretched quite a bit. When he turned around, he held a flower-shaped balloon. Candy Pop's smile was sweet and kind as he offered it to me. I wasn't sure why he was so persistent for me to take the balloon. Maybe he really was trying to befriend me. After a moment, I finally decided to accept the balloon. I examined it before gazing up at him. His expression has changed from kind and sweet to one that was something sinister. I quickly backed away and hugged the balloon against my chest tightly. I started to panic as my body began to levitate off the ground higher and higher. I couldn't stop myself from floating further into the light above. "What is this?" I whimpered as I realized I couldn't take my hands off of the balloon. I felt like it has attached itself to my skin. The light above me grew brighter until all I could see was Candy Pop waving goodbye to me. I could see his shadow now, and it sent a cold chill over me. The shadow showed devilish-looking horns and a tail. When I tried to look at his face again, it was distorted. Multiple whispers surrounded me, and I felt my head spinning. All I could do was close my eyes tightly, wishing that whatever happened would stop. "Alexa! Alexa! Wake up! Alexa!" I could hear my father faintly calling out to me. I felt so cold, as if I'd been dead. I was frightened, and I embraced myself so hard that I popped the balloon without realizing it. I opened my eyes slowly, and the bright light that had been overhead slowly focused into the streetlight. My father was kneeling next to me, checking me over to see if I was alive. Almost immediately, I started to cry and try to hug him. Before I knew it, we were in the hospital, and the doctor said it was a miracle we both survived. As much as it hurt deep down, I was glad we were both away from my stepmother. 3 months has passed since the accident, but I can't shake the feeling something was still wrong. I'm happy that we both got away from my stepmother and we can start over again. The rain outside my hospital window has really made this feel like the beginning of something new. I have to hide my surprise, though, as the doctor entered without knocking. He was probably back to check on my progress. I smiled to myself as I watched the doctor's back. Once he faces me, though, my smile quickly fades. He was holding something in his hand as he quietly spoke to me. "You popped the last balloon I gave you, but don't worry, Alexa, I got you a new one."